Mike Flynn was the national security advisor for Donald Trump. He worked on his campaign. And if there's one thing we know about Mike Flynn, man, he had a lot of issues with the government of Erdogan. That's the president of Turkey. I know it because Flynn said it, and he said it emphatically. He had a lot of trouble with Muslims overall. And remember, Turkey is 99% Muslim. So let me tell you about that. Last July, Flynn praised a coup attempt against Erdogan, criticizing the Turkish leader for being too close to President Barack Obama and calling the coup, quote, worth clapping for. Yes, we're applauding the coup against Erdogan. If you're Mike Flynn, you think that was wonderful. How about Muslims overall? He said, quote, fear of Muslims is rational, and he capitalized rational. He said, Islam is not a real religion, but a political ideology masked behind a religion. So, well, this is why conservatives like Mike Flynn. He is a man of his word, and he's gonna say it like it is. Islam is bad and Turkey even worse. Thank God they did that coup against Erdogan. But then something curious happened. Let's go to the Huffington Post on this one. Flynn shifted to supporting Erdogan only after a Dutch company headed by a man with ties to Erdogan's government hired his intelligence firm early in August. By November, Flynn had flip-flopped entirely. We need to see the world from Turkey's perspective, he wrote in an opinion piece published on election day. This is the man of principle. Turkey's the worst. I'm glad they did a coup against Erdogan. Wait a minute now, I didn't know I was gonna get paid by them. No, we need to see things from Turkey's perspective. Okay, it gets worse. So how much did it take to bribe Mike Flynn? Well, to be fair, a decent amount. It was a fact, as the Miami Herald and McClatchy newspapers explains, that Flynn disclosed himself in a declaration saying that, yes, I did get money from people related to the Turkish government to the Foreign Agent Registration Unit of the Justice Department in early March. According to Flynn's paperwork, he was paid $530,000 for work, quote, that could be construed to have principally benefited the Republic of Turkey. So now he should have filed that much earlier, and it's actually a significant legal issue for him that he did not file that when he was advising Trump, when he was getting state secrets, and then when he was national security advisor. But in March, he finally files it and goes, oh yeah, I was kind of working for the Republic of Turkey. Okay, and so what did Michael Flynn write after he got paid that sum of money? In the Hill, he wrote, our ally Turkey is in crisis and needs our support. That was the headline. And then he wrote, in this crisis, it is imperative that we remember who our real friends are. The ones who bribe us for $530,000. Oops, I didn't mean to write that part. Yes, this is Mike Flynn. It's not a matter of opinion. It's not whether the right wing is right or the left wing is right. Mike Flynn is a man who could easily be bought. The Russians bought him for $33,000. Apparently the Turks overpaid him. That's what they gave him to go sit next to Vladimir Putin to celebrate RT's 10th anniversary. He didn't report that either at the time, and as a former military officer, he's supposed to report that. That's another legal violation. This guy's in a world of trouble, and if you're a conservative, you still have his back after knowing that he flipped and all of a sudden is in favor of the Turks, and for you right-wingers filled with bigotry, ooh, now he supports the Muslims. Why? Because he got paid. Where's your allies now, Mike Flynn? You don't have any, because we all know you're deeply corrupt. And this is the guy that Trump continues to back to this day. And he knew some of this stuff, and it allowed him to be the national security advisor anyway. So now let's go to more great reporting by McClatchy newspapers, because this is not just, hey, he could have done damage to US interests for his own behalf. Apparently he did. So let's go to their explanation of what happened. They say that one of Trump administration's first decisions about the fight against the Islamic State was made by Mike Flynn weeks before he was fired. And it conformed to the wishes of Turkey, whose interests, unbeknownst to anyone in Washington, he'd been paid more than $500,000 to represent. The decision came 10 days before Donald Trump had been sworn in as president in a conversation with President Barack Obama's national security advisor, Susan Rice, who had explained the Pentagon's plan to retake Islamic State's de facto capital of Raqqa with Syrian Kurdish forces whom the Pentagon considered the US's most effective military partners. Obama's national security team had decided to ask for Trump's sign-off since the plan would all but certainly be executed after Trump had become president. Flynn didn't hesitate. According to timelines distributed by members of Congress in the weeks since, Flynn told Rice to hold off a move that would delay the military operation for months. He told them, according to notes taken that are now part of the timeline, and we see it in Dianne Feinstein's report on this and others. He said, quote, "Don't approve it. Don't approve an operation against ISIS because the leader of Turkey, Erdogan, doesn't want that operation to happen." This is the same Erdogan that he thought should have had a coup go against him. He applauded the coup that would have removed and perhaps executed Erdogan. Then he gets paid $500,000 by people connected to Erdogan's government. All of a sudden, he's Erdogan's best friend and stopping our fight, the US fight against ISIS, because Erdogan told him to. That's who Mike Flynn is. Okay. He told the New Yorker in February that Obama had two narrowly defined efforts to defeat the group, that's ISIS, and called for fighting these guys on the battlefield. That's what he said in public. In private, he's telling Trump and the Obama team, no, don't fight them in the battlefield. Don't fight them in the battlefield. Why? At the time, no one knows he's getting paid $500,000 by Turkey. We only find that out in March, later. This is exactly what we're talking about when we say, hey, these private payments to people like Flynn and possibly Trump could they affect our national interests? Could they work for their own financial interests and actually hurt US national interests? Yes, the answer is overwhelmingly yes, and almost certainly what happened in this case. Now, back to McClatchy newspapers. In the Miami Herald, they report his position, Flynn's position, was consistent with the wishes of Turkey, which had long opposed the United States partnering with the Kurdish forces, and which was his undeclared client. Now, at the time, the people who had arranged this on the Turkish side started bragging in public. Ekim Alptekin, is a Turkish businessman who helped to arrange this deal. He said, "We have spoken with his advisors," referring to Trump, "and security team to understand what their vision is for Middle East and Syria." In other words, don't worry, I got this. I already talked to them, and it's true. He did talk to Mike Flynn. He said, according to the Miami Herald, that he was optimistic that the Trump administration would be more sympathetic to Turkish interests. Well, after you give him $500,000 to the national security advisor, yeah, apparently he was much more sympathetic to you. He couldn't have been more sympathetic to you when previously he couldn't have been less sympathetic. And then Optikin says at the end, "It's not just that we are in disagreement with some Obama policies like Syria, but on the Trump side, we saw a willingness to look at these things differently." Well, now they wanted to cover their bases, the Turkish side here. So like, okay, well, we just flat out bribed them, but we called them lobbyists here, and in America all that is legal, so we just give him a check as a lobbyist. Now, if the schmuck had just registered as a foreign agent, yes, it would have created problems for him in whether he would have gotten the National Security Administration job in the first place, or National Security Agency, but at least it would have been legal. In America, you can be legally bribed by these foreign countries. It's insane, right? So, but they're like, but let's make sure we grease the big guy too. So, in another indication of the close ties between the new administration and Turkey under Flynn, the Turkish-US Business Council's annual summit, which is chaired by, hey, look at that, the same guy, Optekin, moved its meeting to the Trump International Hotel in Washington this year. The summit, which is in its 36th year, had in previous years been at the Ritz-Carlton. The new location was announced the day before Flynn was fired. So, hey, Trump, don't worry, we moved it from the Ritz-Carlton to your hotel, you now get paid too. That's a clear violation of the emoluments clause. The Turkish intentions here are super clear. They're intending to influence the Trump administration, and they did. We delayed an attack against ISIS, not because it was the right thing for America to do, but because it was a thing that the Turkish government wanted and paid for here in America. These are the guys that are patriots? Please. Now, finally, when Mike Flynn did file those papers, they explained, according to the filing, he signed the contract with Optikin's firm on August 9th. Trump received his first classified intelligence briefing on August 18th, a meeting that Flynn attended. As Trump's national security advisor in the White House, Flynn had access to even more highly classified intelligence. He sat in on most, if not all, of Trump's phone conversations and meetings with foreign leaders. Now, at the time, he did not tell them that he was actually working for some of those foreign leaders. If they can prove it, and it seems abundantly clear, but I mean prove it in court, those are some very serious crimes that Mike Flynn might be on the hook for. What was that about lock her up? We'll get to that in a second. Okay, Flynn's lawyer has said that he called Trump's transition team before the inauguration, asking whether Flynn should register as a foreign agent. So apparently he told Trump, hey, I'm getting paid by Turkey, let alone the Russians. And Trump heard it and was like, I don't know, man, sure, come on in, be my national security advisor anyway. What a disastrous decision. So now Trump might be on the hook for some of these legal issues as well. So what are the legal issues? Failure to registering as a foreign agent is a federal crime. There is a renewed focus on getting to the bottom of what Flynn did and what Trump knew. So that's a serious federal crime. Now, one more thing. Some members of Congress in private conversations have even used the word treason to describe Flynn's intervention, though experts doubt that his actions qualify. Now, in order for it to be treason, you have to actually actively help an enemy and one that we are at war with. So now Turkey is not an enemy, Turkey is an ally of the United States. So that wouldn't qualify as treason. But he did stop an attack against ISIS, and ISIS is an enemy. Sounds like treasonable suspicion to me. Okay, now I'm gonna leave the last word to Mike Flynn. Hey, Mike, in cases like this where national security is endangered, what do you think should happen? Let's find out.
We do not need a reckless president who believes she is above the law. Lock her up. That's right. That's right. Lock her up. I'm going to tell you what. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. She put our nation's security at extremely high risk with her careless use of a private email server. Lock her up. Lock her up. You guys are good. Damn right. You're exactly right. There's nothing wrong with that. You know why we're saying that? We're saying that because if I, a guy who knows this business, if I did a tenth of what she did, I would be in jail today.
Looking forward to it, Mike. Membership helps fund the Young Turks. You know one great thing about that? That means we're not accountable to anyone but you guys. That's why we're strong together, because we built this show around you. Come build it even bigger and better at tytnetwork.com/join.